Guys, there's some good ones coming out this month, I'm not gonna lie. Hello, welcome back to A D in the Life, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Adi. I like to talk about books, amongst other things, but mostly books, and especially in today's video. We are going to talk about every single book coming out this June that I think you should add to your list, or that I think sound interesting, or ones that I'm just personally adding to my list. Last time I did this, I did actually have some books that I had already read. This time, we are going in completely blind, but I think it's gonna be fun. So I'm gonna first talk about my 5 most anticipated, and then we'll go through the rest of them based on release date. I think there are 32 in this list. We've got romances, thrillers, historical fiction, literary fiction, a lot of summery beach reads. I'm excited, and I feel like we should just get started. Okay, starting with the most anticipated reads. 3 of them are coming out on the 16th, and they are all romances, and all by authors that I love. So obviously I'm going to be reading every single one of these. We've got The Someday Garden by Ashley Poston. This is the same author of The Dead Romantics, which I loved, gave 5 stars to. A novel love story, which is not my favorite, but it was cute. 7 Year Slip, which I also loved. She has one other book, Sounds Like Love, I think. That's her newest one. I haven't read it yet. I will eventually, because at this point she's now an auto by author. She combines magical realism and romance like no other. They're always so fun, very easy to understand, not very complex magic systems, and just like good romance vibes. So this one specifically is about a woman who kind of is going through a midlife crisis, decides she wants to be a gardener, gets a job at an estate on the coast of Maine. So basically anytime a book is set in New England in the summer, it goes on my list. And then while she's there, she stumbles across a secret garden and a man is trapped inside it. I mean, I didn't need to know anything else, but the cover also is stunning. I've already pre-ordered it. Then we have Romantic Hero by Kirsty Greenwood. This is also a magical realism romance book. This is by the same author of The Love of My Afterlife, which is honestly probably one of my favorite romantic comedies ever. It was a grumpy romance, also magical realism, found family, hilarious. The chemistry was like off the charts. I loved it. I'm so excited for this one. This one is about an author who I think has been recently heartbroken, and a cowboy from one of her romance books comes to life and I think tries to pursue her maybe, or maybe she just runs into him. I don't know. It sounds like kind of a crazy story. Again, fantastic cover. I am expecting this one to make me giggle out loud multiple times, and I can't wait to read it. And then for something that will probably be a little bit more serious, because I feel like that is this author's style. So Trope Sick by Lauren Oakey also comes out this day. This is the author of The Best Worst Thing, which was her debut novel. That one had some very serious topics, and what I've heard about Trope Sick is that there is kind of a very dramatic, maybe depressing ending. I'm not sure. It's about 2 childhood neighbors who reunite to ghostwrite a love story, and then I think all of the tropes that are in the love story start coming to life and kind of like impacting them a little bit. In my mind, it sounds like it's going to be funny, but like I said, Lauren Oakey's writing I think is a little bit more serious. Also, she writes fantastic spice, so I'm also expecting it to be very spicy. I've heard good things, and I am very excited to read this one too. Okay, and then a book coming out on the 23rd, also by an auto read author of mine. It Could Have Been Her by Lisa Jewell is a thriller. She is one of my favorite thriller authors. None of This Is True is a fantastic thriller. If you've never read it, add it to your list. This one feels like it's going to be creepy. This is about a woman who's walking her dog and runs into this random dog that used to be owned by a girl that disappeared. So then she returns the dog to its rightful owner, and then I think the house is like creepy. There's maybe a girl in the window, not the same girl. I don't really know. I try to go into thrillers blind, as we know, but this one sounds like a true psychological thriller, which I'm honestly really in the need for, so I'm excited for it. And then on the 30th, we have A Darker Shore, Letters from Ketterdam. This is part of the Six of Crows world. It's not a third book. I went to a talk with Lee Bardugo and she made it very clear. It's not a book. It's a short story, all letters. So it's an epistolary novel, which I love. I'm super excited for this, obviously. The Six of Crows duology, loved so much. This book is only 64 pages, so it's like legitimately not a book. It's like a teeny tiny novella, but I'm excited to have it nonetheless. Okay, now let's get into all of the other books, starting with the books coming out on June 2nd. So we've got Whistler by Anne Patchett. This is the same author of Tom Lake, which I have not read. I know that I need to. I've heard it's fantastic. I've heard the audiobook is fantastic. I digress. That's not her new book. So The Whistler is a literary fiction, I think also going to be character driven. It's about Daphne, who is at the Metropolitan Art Museum with her husband, and there's like an older man following her, and then she realizes that the older man is her estranged stepfather, who was only married to her mother like a long time ago, I think for only a year. I think they had like a special relationship or a special bond of some sort. So they reunite years later, and I think it brings up some old things that happened. 4.61 on Goodreads, which tells me I probably need to read it. Then we have There's Only One Sin in Hollywood by Rashid Newson. This is a historical fiction mystery, and it follows an investigation into a very mysterious death of a closeted Black Hollywood actor. I'm not seeing anyone talk about this one. It has very little ratings, but the premise sounds fascinating. I also love behind the scenes Hollywood drama, so I do feel like this is going to be a good one. Next up is The Children by Melissa Albert. Honestly, the premise of this is very confusing. This is a fantasy gothic horror novel. It's about two children who have been estranged from each other. Growing up, their mother was a well-known, acclaimed fantasy author, and over time they've grown apart. I think they've kind of taken advantage of the fact that their mother was famous. And then I think somehow they become reunited. Some things get brought up from their childhood. Somehow it's a horror, so I'm gonna assume it's creepy. Also though, the cover is fantastic. I don't know what to expect out of this book, and I don't know why I'm drawn to it, but I feel like I need to read it. Okay, then we have Down with the Shipments by Meg Mitchell-Moore. This cover alone is giving quintessential summer beachy literary read, but the description itself is also selling me. This is about three sisters who reunite at their childhood home after their mother had passed away and their father is selling the house. I think there's going to be a lot of familial drama, which I always eat up. I don't know what to fully expect out of this one, but it's also set in New Hampshire, which means it automatically gets bumped up my TBR. The Last Time We Drowned by Saratoga Schaefer is another thriller. This is about 6 influencers who get stuck on a luxury yacht in the middle of the ocean and then someone ends up dead. Truly my worst nightmare as an actual life event, but as a book premise, I love a locked room mystery. I love entitled people that don't really care about dying. I think this one's going to be really good. Then we have An Artful Dodge by Karen Auden. This is a historical fiction mystery, and it follows a female gang that's known for being kind of a bunch of thieves. A little, Six of Crows-esque maybe, and they're trying to complete one big heist. The second it said heist, it went on my list. I also really like that it's set during the Victorian era. I feel like we don't really get a lot of historical books during that time frame, so I'm really intrigued by this one. Okay, then we have The Windsor Affair. This is another historical fiction, I think with a little bit of romance. It's actually based on the story of the abdication of Edward VIII, I think, who was the brother of Queen Elizabeth II's father, if that makes any sense. This is by Melanie Benjamin. I haven't read anything by her, but I really want to pick this one up because I have always been weirdly obsessed with British royalty. Growing up, I read a lot of historical fiction about it. The Crown, one of my favorite Netflix shows ever. So I am very excited about this one. Next is Summerland Cove by Ellen Baker, another summery lit fic book set in Maine. So back to New England we go. This follows a family that is doing a summer-long reunion at their summer family cottage. And I think there's a lot of family drama, chaos, secrets revealed. It's giving These Summer Storms a little bit. Also, fantastic cover. I am a sucker for a summer lit fic. I feel like I love reading literary fictions in warm weather for some reason, so I'm excited about this one. And then last for the second is 138 Main. This is a thriller by Gavin Bell, and the premise of this one sounds so interesting. So it's basically about a serial killer where the only pattern that investigators can figure out is that he will only target addresses that are at 138 Main Street. It doesn't matter where in the US. And unfortunately, there are a lot of main streets in the country. So the investigators are kind of trying to catch him before he hits his next location. This feels like one of those thrillers that's going to fly by, and the ratings are looking really, really good. So I really want to read this one. Okay, on to the next week. Only a few that are coming out on the 9th that I'm really excited for. We've got The Misconnection by Tia Williams. This is a romance about a woman who sits next to a really handsome stranger on a plane, and then she loses track of him and then tries to find him because she thinks he's her soulmate. I just think this one sounds so fun and also something that I would totally do, and therefore sounds really relatable. So I need to read it. I haven't read anything by her, but I know that people love her writing. We've also got This Immortal Heart by Jennifer Saint. This is a Greek mythology retelling about Aphrodite, the goddess of love, and her entire experience, I think, falling in love with Ares, the god of war. Now the problem is that they're polar opposites. I think they're supposed to have nothing in common. I don't know if it's enemies to lovers or just opposites attract, but it sounds really interesting. I love Greek mythology retellings for some reason. I've always been interested in it, so obviously I need to read this one. It went on my list pretty much automatically. Okay, one of the most interesting plots, I think, of all the books in this list is for obstetrics. This is by Naomi Kritzer, and it's about a doctor who gets kidnapped by a cult so that they can have a live-in OBGYN, basically, and then I think she has to try to escape. It's a sci-fi horror. It sounds honestly scarily like something that could happen, and also fascinating, and it's under 300 pages, which I love because that means if I read it, I won't be in turmoil for too long. Also, incredibly fun cover. Okay, and then we have Heather by Caitlin Mullen. This is a mystery thriller. The description says for fans of God of the Woods, which I loved. It was like the perfect warm weather mystery. This one is about twin sisters who live in a small town, and then one of them starts dating a much older mysterious man, and then they both go missing. And then I think there's a time jump and something happens that brings back the case. I'm not really sure. Again, prefer to go into thrillers blind, but this one sounds really interesting, and the cover, love. Okay, and last one is Off the Record by Sarah Goodman Confino. I'm probably saying that wrong. This is a historical fiction / romance, not a historical romance. And it's about an aspiring newspaper reporter who stumbles upon like some Cold War secrets or like a cryptic message relating to the Cold War. And then she enlists a fellow reporter to try to follow the leads. I want to say they'll probably like go undercover into all these different like dangerous scenarios. Maybe there's some close proximity instances. This one honestly sounds very good. Okay, a bunch coming out on the 16th that I haven't yet mentioned. We've got Little Wonder by Sophie Chen Keller. This one is about a Chinese mother who has a musical prodigy of a son, and then one day they're waiting for the train and she loses him, and then it follows the story of both her and him trying to find their way back to each other. This feels like a book guaranteed to make everyone cry. There's also The Low Job, which is honestly giving me Kardashian Jenner family vibes. This is by Grace Alexander. It's a literary fiction / romance, and it follows a family of women that are thrust into the spotlight after one of them has an affair with their married boss. Honestly, this cover is so fun. I'm really excited to read this one. We also have Good at Being Alive by Elizabeth O'Rourke. I have never read anything by her, but I think she's a pretty well-known spicy romance author. This is about a woman who's kind of a socialite. Her father dies, and then the business that he co-owned, she finds out is kind of going under, and she decides along with her father's partner that the way to save the company somehow is to pretend to be together and to go on a European honeymoon for a reality TV show. I don't understand the premise at all, but I am obsessed with the cover. I am a sucker for fake dating. So yeah, I want to read this. Two more. We've got Trash, A Garbage Man's Story. I'm going to say this wrong, but it's by Simon Per Poupar. It's a translated memoir. It's about a Montreal garbage man's like life story. I think it's a little bit of an expose into the garbage world maybe. And it's supposed to be hilarious, and it has a fantastic Goodreads rating. I need to read it also. It's right around 200 pages. I love a short bite-sized memoir. And also like what an interesting topic that I've literally never read anything about. Okay, and then lastly, we've got The Great Outdoors by Kayla Olson. This is a romance. It follows a woman who's like super high maintenance, and she wants to prove to her ex that she's low maintenance, and she does that by deciding to go on a wilderness trek. And I think that the trek leader is like really hot and she falls in love with him somehow. This sounds like my worst nightmare as somebody who is definitely a little bit high maintenance, and so naturally I want to read it, and I think it'll be funny and cute and romantic. Okay, we've got a few more books coming out on the 23rd. Another magical realism romance. If you guys don't know this about me, I can't remember if I said this already, but I just love romance with magical realism. I don't know why. I think because then it makes me feel less bad that it wouldn't happen to me because magic isn't real. Although, I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe it could be. Anyways, In Every Possible Way is the newest book by Alicia Thompson. She wrote Love in the Cold War, I think is what it's called, and Love in the Time of Serial Killers, which I loved. Sorry. It's With Love from Cold War. I got the two titles mixed up. Anyways, so her newest book is about a woman who's like on a really bad date and she's walking and she hits her head and wakes up in Ireland. I don't know where the romance part of it comes into play, but sounds pretty fun. Cover is cool, and I really like this author's writing, so I'm excited for it. Chase Me If You Can is by Heather Francis, and it's a debut romance. It's about two storm chasers. I'm assuming they go after the same storm, so a little bit enemies to lovers situation. I think there have been other storm-related romances coming out recently. I don't know if this is like a new thing. What I do know is that this feels like the perfect read for a rainy summer day, like thunderstorms. Maybe I'm feeling like a little bit of a romance and not a thriller, because that's usually what I want to read when it rains in the summer. Anyways, this one sounds really good. It has a very good rating for a debut romance. I love reading debuts by romance authors, so It's on the list. Now, another debut romance is Abby Offsides. This is by Anna McCallie. I don't know if I'm saying that right. This is a sports romance. Very different. I'm not a big sports romance girly, but I've never read a soccer romance, so I'm definitely intrigued. This is another romance where the main female character is looking for a fresh start, so she somehow ends up getting a job at a UK football club, and then her housing falls through, so then one of the players convinces her to live in his penthouse. So I'm assuming we've got forced proximity. And while sports romance isn't always my favorite, this is A Thousand Voices book, which is Jenna Bush Hager's, I think, like book PR company. And so far I have loved pretty much every book that they've put out. Little Wonder actually is another one of them. So I have high hopes that this isn't going to be too cheesy. I think that's usually my problem with sports romances. I think it's also single POV, which is also usually my problem with sports romances, is they're usually dual POV. I don't like dual POV. Is that correct? Yeah, it looks like it's single POV. So kind of excited. Okay, next is a book by Beatrice Williams, who is an author I have been really wanting to read. She wrote Husbands and Lovers, which one of my friends has raved about. Her new book is called When You Loved Me. It's another historical fiction with some romance intertwined. It's about a woman who's recently widowed. She ends up returning to her late father's estate in New England, and she somehow gets pulled into a pirate treasure hunt. I have been saying from the beginning of the year that I think this is going to be the year of pirates in literature and new book releases. I have no idea why, but this one, and I think there's another book in this list, kind of proves that. And honestly, I'm not mad about it. And also a very fun, unique premise for a historical fiction. Oh, I've looked at my list. It's literally the next one. Okay, so Scandal of the Summer is a historical romance. It's by Alexandra Vasti. I think it's the start of a new interconnected romance series. Bear with me on the premise of this. Basically, it's about this debutante that's been single for a while. She doesn't want to deal with it, so she flees to her holiday house where a former con artist, pirate of sorts, is staying, and I think he has like some scheme going. I don't know what the tropes are in this. All I know is that there are pirates. It has over 4-star rating. I don't know. Something about this is drawing me. Honestly, it might be the pirates, but I want to read it. Okay, and just 3 more to end the month on the 30th, but honestly, some really good ones. We've got The Shampoo Effect by Jenny Jackson. This is a summer romance set in a fictional Massachusetts beach town. I think it's supposed to be like the North Shore. Guys, in case you didn't know this, I'm from New England. I'm actually from Massachusetts, so obviously books set in Massachusetts in the summer goes on the list. Also, title, so fun. It's about a friend group, and I think this girl somehow entwines herself with this friend group. I think there's like some sort of pregnancy. It seems to be very friendship drama, rich people lives, and somehow there's a romance in it. I don't know, it just feels like the perfect summer beach read. It just checks so many boxes off, and so I need to read it. We've also got Keep Them Close by David Ellis. This is by a very well-known thriller author. I haven't read anything by him. Look Closer is high on my list. I think it's on my 26 for 2026 actually. This one is about 2 siblings who have always been really close, but then one of them, their husband dies, and then they weirdly start like not really hanging out with each other and not really speaking to each other. I think there's some family secrets, some family drama. I don't know, it has great ratings, sounds very intriguing, and I'm kind of loving the dark, gloomy, summer-looking house on the cover. Okay, last one is Games, a Love Story. This is another debut romance. It's by Anna Maria Volkova, and this has been on my radar for a while because Ali Hazelwood, one of my favorite romance authors, had been raving about it, and so it just immediately went on my list. This is a coming-of-age romance, and it's about an economics grad student who starts a relationship with her much older professor. I have a feeling it's going to be spicy. The cover is kind of given that. Maybe a little toxic. I don't know, but what I do know is that I am excited to read it. Okay, we've come to the end of the list, and I realized I didn't include the Goodreads ratings this time. So let me know if that's something you wish I had included. I just feel like Goodreads ratings, unless they really stand out to me, gotta take them with a grain of salt. And pretty much everything that I called out in this video should have above a 3.8. Usually I don't pull out books that I really want to read if they're lower than that, unless they're by an auto-buy author. So yeah, take my word for it. They all have pretty high Goodreads ratings. I'm really excited for all of these. I feel like I've probably missed a bunch. So if there are any that I missed that you think I need to make sure to add to my list, please let me know in the comments below. And also let me know which book you are most looking forward to that's coming out in June. I am so excited. I can't pick one, so I'm not going to. That's everything. If you made it this far, thank you so much for hanging, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!